Welcome to Unguarded Minds. My name is Tammy Kiekefer.
And my name is Desiree Grimaldi. Buckle up for the Unguarded Minds, the unfiltered podcast that dives deep into the rough waters of life. We are your fearless guides. There is nothing off topic for us. We are talking about all the gritty things that life throws at us. And we have a special guest today, Krista Ford. Welcome. We are so excited to have you here. You are our first guest for our podcast.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for
You
having
have
me.
an amazing bio. You started out coming from a toxic environment and relationship into being a world record powerlifter into now getting ready to release your new book. So we would love to talk about all those phases of your life and share some tips with our audience. So why don't you go ahead and just get us started off?
I'm gonna dive on in, huh?
Yeah.
So, I experienced for the first time in my life being in a long-term toxic energy vampire, narcissistic, manipulator, gaslighter relationship.
Oof. Check.
And so I'm a survivor of that now. I didn't, and I have the message to tell everyone about that. These particular people are extremely dangerous, and if you find yourself that you're in a narcissistic relationship, it goes straight downhill. And from my experience, in my book that's coming out, there is a chapter in there, chapter 33. It talks all about narcissism. What is narcissism? How do you find out if this person is a toxic narcissist, not just people who have narcissistic traits, but people who are actually dangerous to be around, you know.
How
And
did you
go ahead.
how did you get into it? Like, what was that beginning stage like? Because I think you're saying if you find out that you're in it, I think the problem is that you don't realize you're in it until you're stuck.
You,
So what was the beginning? Maybe there was some love bombing, maybe there was, what was that like for you?
so in the beginning, my I'm just going to say this. God was telling me from the beginning, no. He was saying,
Mm,
Krista, no, 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 this is not. And I got it from my instinct.
mm,
So when I first started dating and we first started dating, I just kept saying, there's something wrong with her. I felt it in my spirit. I could not put my finger on it right away. All I know is I liked her, she liked me, and the
uh,
person that I was seeing then, that's the person I thought I was going with. But
yeah.
later on, you find they pull off their mask and you really see the true them.
So was it
So
almost too good to be true? Was it, or was
not
it just like,
not, not too good to be true, I wouldn't say, but what it was you know how when you first start liking somebody and they like you and then you start dating and you go out and you start having fun and but from the very beginning it was something wrong. I had never felt this with anyone else in any relationship I had ever been in,
huh?
and I couldn't put my finger on it. And then
What made you
15
stay?
hmm,
What made you stay from the beginning if you felt like, something's
I
wrong?
I wouldn't give up. I kept thinking to myself, surely this woman is not what she's doing. Surely she's not a liar and a deceiver. And I'm just thinking to myself, maybe I was just feeling like I could help some kind of way. And I kept getting all kinds of signs, no, And so when you get in something like that, and if since it was my first time ever experiencing it, I
Uh-huh.
didn't know what to do. I just kept thinking, is it me? Is it her? What's going on here? But I just kept trying. I kept trying to fix it. I
Mm.
just kept trying to fix us. I kept trying to fix her. I kept trying to fix why is this so crazy? And I just wouldn't give up. But I just didn't know what the heck was going on. I was trying to figure it out. And a decade plus later was when it really all came to me,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But it took a minute. I
And
was
I hate that you went through that, but I think it's really
Mm.
important too that you're speaking about it happening to you from a woman, because in the public eye, it's typically just put on men.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's more common that way, but I feel like it's a breath of fresh air for men to be able to identify that women are very capable of being narcissistic.
Yes.
It's not just something that affects, the males. So I
Exactly.
think that is super important for people to understand. But I could completely relate, like what you're saying, though. And sometimes when you don't understand what's happening, it's the curiosity that could suck you in, because you're like, this is new. I don't understand this. I can't figure it out. I have to figure it out to understand it, to process it. So I think that's a really big thing too, of what gets you stuck is just trying to figure it out. And it's like a
You're,
big puzzle.
you're in this total state of confusion.
Mhm.
You're trying to figure out what in the heck is going on. So you're stuck in this state of deceit and lies and confusion all the time. And what happened with me was that I just kept saying, surely I'm not with the worst person walking on this earth. You don't want to feel that way about yourself. You're thinking, no way am I going through this. I have never gone through this before. I have never felt like somebody was able to manipulate me and use me and gaslight me to death. I never even knew what those words were until I got into this relationship. And then I started educating myself on these people are dangerous. But I never had that experience. As well as, I think my biggest thing is that I found out later that I have empathic traits. And this is a um narcissists are attracted to empathic people, people who have good energy, good hearts, compassionate, empathy, sympathy, that's what they're attracted to. These type of people like myself and others. And that's what I found out later too. So I started going through the whole relationship, and I was finding out little by little, but until the very end, when the Lord just shut the door and said, don't open this door back up because this is not for you. Now I'm going to show you a couple more times. Then it really started resonating with you, because you go through sickness, and you go through all kinds of different things with your own body, your psyche. You start getting ill around them, and you're not wondering, why in the heck am I getting sick when I'm around them? So the whole thing was very confusing to me.
So
But yeah, women can be total narcissist, toxic people as well, for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So did
So
you try to? Oh, go ahead.
sorry. So you said, God, and I'm a believer. So God had been giving you the signs that you weren't ready to listen to necessarily in the beginning. But when he did close that door, but was there that breaking point, like, attainable, that you've seen, or something happened when you were like, I'm gonna listen now, I'm done? What was that breaking point for you?
He had me, because God tried to shut the door many times, but I kept saying, no, 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 God, I got this. Just I can fix it. I don't believe she's the worst person walking on this earth. I can fix this. But so I kept being stubborn when it came to this. God kept sending me omen after omen after omen after omen about our
He has
relationship.
a plan, no matter what your
Oh,
plan is.
over and over and over and over again. He kept saying, like, Krista, and it's like knocking on my head. Hello, how many things do I have to show you this is not your partner, period, in life? This is not her. So for me, he showed me one last thing. Even after I went back, after we were broke up, and I started engaging with her again as like friends with benefits. So you get that trauma bonding where you're just trauma bonded to these people. It is so incredibly, absolutely crazy. So one day I found something. I found a lot of stuff. Trust me. I found a lot of things that was proof that she's lying. I got her on video. I got her on recordings. when I just was thinking to myself, surely I got to be able to find out if she's telling the truth. So I had to start recording her because I was just thinking to myself, she's lying. I'm sitting right here looking at her and I know she's lying. Well, God showed me one last thing. And he said, I'm going to show you one last thing. And now, if you don't walk away from her now, you're on your own. And he showed me a smear campaign that she did on me in a text. And I got it screenshot, put it on my phone. And I showed it back to her, and she still denied it all. But it was a total smear campaign about our relationship with her next new supply that she was trying to date.
Wow.
So she totally smeared me to make sure that this person thinks I'm the one who's crazy. My ex is crazy. But then that was my last final thing that God said. After I got re-engaged with her again, after we broke up, and I started engaging in the same things with her, that's when God said, look, I'm showing you one last thing. Now, if you don't walk away with this, and she had my name on it, her name, everything, so it was proof right there. This woman was smearing me and lying about our relationship for over 15 years in this text.
And that's
I had proof then. And that's when God said, walk away. If you don't walk away from this, this is what she's doing. So yes, it took, guys, oh my gosh, 15 years later.
Wow.
It took a long time.
So I have a question. So with the narcissism and the gaslighting and the lying and she as a therapist, like I work, with people who on both sides of it, the victim part and the person who's got these personality issues. They don't happen when you're in your 20s or that, like, this is some deep-seated stuff. Did you ever understand when you said trauma bonding? I was like, so she had some trauma possibly that she brought into the relationship. And I'm just curious, did you ever learn why she was the way that she is?
I never learned that other than, I believe, from all of my studying on this and all of my learning about what true narcissistic people are, besides their sociopaths and psychopaths, and they have a mental disorder. I've seen and read and heard from other people too. This starts from something in their childhood, from their
Did
parents.
she ever talk about her childhood, or did she talk about how she grew up,
oh
or
yeah,
her family?
right.
And yeah. That's
Yeah.
what
Talked
did
about
she
all
go,
that.
did she go through a lot of trauma growing up? I guess I'm asking because I think that narcissistic type people and people with that extreme personality, they're so fragile. They're such actually very fragile people underneath this facade that they put out there of this power over. It's like, so I was just curious if you had ever in your learning, and because I think that can help the healing process also as you move on in your life, is understanding what happened and why was she like that. Because when you understand the why, it almost gives you, it's hard to get there, but a teeny bit of compassion, like, holy cow, she went through the ringer. And my heart goes out to you. I can't be with you. I wish you well and I'm letting you go. But now I'm understanding where it was coming from.
So what it was told to me, and I know this for fact, she had therapy most of her young life. So she had mental disease as well as physical disease, and she was very sickly. Okay, so that was my understanding when I first we first started our relationship. She told me a lot about her childhood, but then you have to understand something about these narcissistic people. They lie a ton. When I say a ton, I realize how much deceit is in everything they part their lips to say.
So it's hard to understand what was true that she was telling you about her childhood and what she was fabricating.
Exactly. Because and I was so okay, so what really kept me locked in with her all these years later in the relationship was, honestly, guys, I felt sorry for her. I absolutely felt sorry for her. And that's your people that are, that we're the normal folks have a lot of compassion and empathy and sympathy in us.
Mhm.
So when I noticed how sickly she was, and then she's telling me this whole stuff about she go through therapy and she's on Prozac and all this kind of stuff, I felt sorry for her.
Mhm.
And I said to myself, and I liked her and I was in a relationship with her, and she's my girlfriend, but I was thinking to myself, I want to help. That's what you get sucked into. You want to help. But these people have manipulated being so fake and phony, and this is not the real them. Out in public, they put on this total fake facade for real. And when you get them home, you see the real them. And that's the part that is very confusing about these people. If they have mental problems, but these people are using other people to keep them sucked into them and
Mhm.
all of their craziness when I say that. And they're using you. So they really do know what they're doing. So yes,
That's the vampire part you spoke of. Is
that
just
is the suck you drive all your energy. They call it energy vampires. That's the truth. And a lot of my studying with Dr. Romney and understanding what the heck narcissism is and these people,
Mhm.
then I really started understanding they use that stuff to pull you in and get you in there. And the minute they get everything out of you that they want, their mask starts coming off and you start seeing the true them. And this is the part that is incredibly dangerous to the other person.
So with
And I
our
bet you could spot them a mile away now.
And there was my gift from God. I knew there was a reason why I was supposed to go through this for the first time in my life. I have never been in a trauma bonded or trauma relationship ever in
Mhm.
my life. But you're right. I see them. Desiree, I can see them coming a mile away now. All they got to do is open up their mouth, and I'm going, oh no, I got to go. I'm out. I'm gone. I'm running the other way real quick. So, out of this whole horrible, incredibly toxic relationship I was in, there was my biggest learning lesson as well as gift from God, I believe. Though, so he's like, look, we don't ever have to worry about you going down this road again because I gave you all the signs you learn now and trying to move on. But you're right about that. That was my biggest takeaway from all of this, for real.
What made you, I think, like you were saying, that not only did she have a veil over her personality that you didn't see right away, but then sometimes, having been in one too, it's like you feel like you've got a bag over your head and you can't see anything. What made you go out and get some education and learn more and maybe get some support? Because I think that's people need to get out there. That was such a huge step for you, just part of that turning corner. What made
Honest,
you able to do
it,
that?
it took me forever because okay, so you know how we are as humans. We want to control it. We want to figure it out. And so the stubborn part of me was feeling what I was feeling, talking to all of my friends about it,
Good.
but I was not really diving in to really truly know what the heck I was going through. So I think a part of me, guys, was in total denial that
Mm,
I'm not, there's no way, as strong as I am physically, mentally, and spiritually, I could ever be in a situation like this. So I think I started telling myself, no, and I was embarrassed. I was so
oh,
embarrassed with talking to my friends all the time about how much this relationship is horrible. And then to actually admit
mhm.
that I found out the real truth here, I was very embarrassed. So it took me a long time, guys. It really did. But I think what it was a lot for me was that God just kept showing me over and over and helping. And I was miserable, guys. For 15 plus years, I was absolutely miserable. And that is not me. That is not even close to my personality. So I was miserable. I was unhappy, but I wouldn't give up. So, but I didn't start diving into all this stuff until I got some advice from a friend of mine They told me to get this certain book and start doing Reiki and start figuring out what am I going through. And that's when it happened. But we're talking way down the road. We're talking around the 14th year.
Wow.
So when you did finally end the relationship, I think a big part of the next step is what mindset were you in when you ended it? Because a lot of people leave it feeling shame, lack of confidence, fear, trauma bonded, like all these things. And it almost puts them into an even deeper hole than what they were in the relationship. So when you did finally leave that relationship, like what state of mind were you in? And then to your next achievement, like, was that part of your healing journey?
You know what, guys? When I left, I was thinking, I felt very thankful that I'm away from that danger, because that was dangerous for me. So I felt, for me, this is the biggest thing I felt. When you start sitting around and you're thinking about what you miss about them, then I started telling myself, initially when I got out of it, I kept telling myself, what am I missing from her? The lies, the manipulation, the using me. What am I missing? Well, what I found out for me, what I was missing was just the familiarity of being in that relationship as long as I was. So that was the part that I felt like I was missing. So I went through a lot of emotions when I left. I was mad as hell, for real. I was hurt, not from her hurting me, but more so that I allowed myself to keep going in this. So I was really mad at myself. I was mad at her. I was mad at the world. I'm like, how in the heck can I get in this place? Then I went through the sadness. Then I went through the happiness that I'm gone. And I went through all these different emotions. So just initially leaving, I was relieved. I was relieved. But I still was, it was a lot going on in my mind about leaving. A lot of this, and then you start thinking, well, you know they've moved on. And that's kind of insulting on top of everything. But now that you truly understand what narcissistic people do, they go on to the next supply and the next supply and the next supply. Always. They even have them people in your relationship and you don't know it. So a lot of this, that was another thing. So you're thinking, for me, I was thinking, how was she able to move so fast? But now I understand narcissists all do that. They have somebody else extra on the side ready to go. If they already groomed them already while they were in the relationship with you, they're sitting right there waiting on them. And then they're gonna put on that whole nice pretty face for them and get them reeled in like they do you and the other person. But yeah.
So as a fixer and an empath, and I just want to help everyone, did you want to reach out to her next victim and say, red flag, watch out?
I did, until I really dove into listening to Dr. Romney. And she was like, don't do it.
Do it, yeah.
Because all they're going to do is believe the narcissist the same way, because the narcissist is going to be telling them everything she told me in the initially beginning. They're going to be wanting to help and take care of them because they feel like they're the victim. So I thought about it and I thought, nah. And after I started really researching that and listening to reels and affirmations and listening to people talk about narcissism, all these people, all of their stories were the same, absolute same. Let them people go. They're going to do this smear campaign with their next new supply about you. So the minute you start coming back that way to try to fight to get them back, they are going to turn right to that new supply and say, see, I told you she's crazy. I told you she's a stalker. I told you this. So they can make the new supply think and make sure that they know they're the victim. And then they'll feel sorry for them, just like I did, and reel in there. So anything that I was to even think about going to the new supply and saying, she wasn't going to believe me, because my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend at the time, she put on that pretty face, that mask, and she's showing that new supply exactly. So she wouldn't have believed me because she would have been like, "Oh no, she's already told you about. She's already told me about you. You're crazy. You're this. You're that. And it's not me. It's her." But
and
that's
you probably wouldn't have believed it if someone told you at the beginning. I know when I was in it, I didn't believe anyone that, people were like, "Tammy, what are you thinking? What are you doing? I'm getting pamphlets in my box at work." And you're just like, denial. I like that word that you used.
And because they're brainwashers. These people brainwash you into believing that what you're getting is the real them. And it is totally a lie. You are not getting the real them. The real them is underneath that once they get you. Then you get to see the real person. And so it's all a big facade. And they put on this beautiful face, and they're charismatic to everybody, and they're nice to your friends, and they're nice to the public, and everybody's just like, "Oh, they're so nice." But you don't know them behind closed doors with you. You know the real them. And yes, you're right. It's just yes, what I've learned, I tell you, like you said, I know these folks coming a mile away, and as I started healing and coming away from it, even though I went back, we've done that. You go back and they reel you back in, even though they're gone on, move on, doing what they're doing. But for some reason, but what I found about all of this toxic stuff is that these people are incredibly, incredibly unhappy people, period. They don't have any authentic identity like you and I and us. We are authentic in our identity. We know who we are. We know what we want. We know what we want to do. We want, things like that. These people are clueless. They have no clue. So that's why I found out, they mirror you. So they get with people that are successful because that's what they really want love to be. But they can't be that way because they don't have a true, authentic identity in the first place. These people are as fake as they come. But yeah, so.
No, I knew that because I could definitely see them coming a mile away. Me and Tammy have touched on it. So I will not diagnose her, but so my mother has many narcissistic tendencies. I'll say that to be nice and not be licensed to officially diagnose her. But I can see him coming a mile away and people will be like, "You're judging them so quick." And I'm like, listen, I would rather be wrong 100 times and push them away than to let one pass.
Yes. You know what? And the more I learned about this, guys, the more I was getting revealed. I started talking to people who have got divorced from their narcissistic husband, wife, girlfriend, it doesn't matter. And I started really coming together with all these people out of nowhere would start telling me, "I went through that." And they started telling me their stories. All of these stories are exactly the same. That's what I found. We all go through the same exact thing because what I found, guys, the biggest lesson I learned here is that these people are so cloaked. And until you start uncloaking them, they look the same and they do the same exact thing to every victim. Every one of them. They talk the same. They react the same. They manipulate the same. They use the same. They discard you the same. They do all of this raging the same. You see this. They don't change their colors. All narcissistic people that are toxic, they have the same game plan for the next and the next and the next. And when you talked about your mom, that's another thing I found out later. I found out my mom is a total narc. And now I understand now as an adult why now I can put everything together. You know what I mean? Now, and she don't have traits. She's a total narc. Now I see that's what I was raised up with.
So
Now I
what
truly,
was your role in your family with your mom having narcissistic, total narc, what was your role? How were you trying to make her happy? Were you trying to like figure it? Did you personalize all of it? What was that like growing up for you?
okay, so for me, real quickly on that one, I'm adopted. So
Okay.
this is my adopted family, right? And so I
How
didn't
old were you?
realize, huh?
How old were you when you got adopted?
1.5.
Okay.
Okay, so, but what I did not realize until I left the house at a very early age, at 17.
Mm,
Okay, and I've been out here since I was 17, right? But so I just, and my sister is her biological daughter, so it's just me and her. So I was always trying to um, get the love from my mom, and it was never successful. But I
mm,
didn't understand any of that
mm,
until I got older, and I just went through what I'm going through now. Now I understand. All along, my mother was a total narc, manipulator, and then listening to her now, she's a lot older. Listening to her now, and I don't hardly talk to her too much, but when I do listen to her, everything that comes out of her mouth now I understand. I truly know where it's coming from a mile away now, because the language I hear her say is negative the minute she parts her lips about anything, complains all the time, constantly very critical of everyone else. All the signs of being a true toxic narcissist is my mother. But
mm,
I just now found out all of this last year when I confronted her about it. Now, of course, they're going to deny everything. Now I know that. And that's even my mom. But yeah, so I
So
just was
look,
constantly just trying to
yeah.
live up to the expectations she had for my sister, because my sister was the prodigy child. She was the favorite, and I was the adopted one. So I was always trying to get my mom's attention,
Mm,
but to no avail, because
mm,
all I kept running into was, I don't really love you like that. I don't care about you like that. And that's what I kept getting. So at a very young age, guys, I was able to take all of that energy and put it into now being a professional athlete. You see what I mean? I found my family and everything else in my life. And I thank the Lord for that, because if I was to still stay around trying to make this woman happy or make her love me as her daughter, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys right now. I can tell you that, because my path would have been just totally different. So
mhm,
I just took a lot of that energy that I did not get from her at all, and I just made a beautiful life for myself in so
mm.
many ways. It just so happens that now I went to my first narcissistic relationship, but now I totally understand that's been my mother all along. I just now starting to.
They've been huge to your healing journey too, from even your childhood trauma.
It
Um,
did.
Understanding it, because when you're a kid, you
That's
think
it.
it's normal. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, all families are like this. This is
yeah,
normal. Or you maybe even you just felt that way because you were adopted, but you
yeah.
still somehow normalize it until you're older and you could identify it. Because I know I thought that it was normal as a child. I was like, everybody's parents fight. Everybody, all these things happen in everybody else's household. And I left the house at 14. So
You understand then?
it was when I did that, I was like, I was sitting in my new apartment worrying about them because I always took care of them.
Yep.
And I was like, you're the kid. Who cares? Who cares
Right.
what they're doing?
Right.
But and then even further, like going on to have kids, and I'm like, I could not even imagine ever doing, saying, behaving, showing my children anything that I grew up with. But yeah, so I mean, I'm sure that this has all been a big part of the healing process from your childhood trauma too.
And it is, and like I said, what I feel like is the serious takeaway that I would like to help people, even when my book comes out about this particular subject, is that anything that's meant for you is never going to pass you by.
Mm,
So in that situation, if that was truly meant for me, and she was truly meant for me, we would still be together. And it wouldn't have been so much chaos and drama and trauma and all that craziness. It wouldn't have been that at all. And I do know that even from my past relationships and exactly about my relationship with my mother growing up. I just know that when it is truly right, honest and true, your spirit and everything in it, you're not going to have these issues. You're not going to go through all that craziness. Yes, you're going to go through stuff in life, but not to the point where you think you're losing your mind because it's really them, you know.
I think things happen, my belief system, I think things happen for a reason. I think there's always
Absolutely.
lessons learned. And I think that there's two parts to it also. There's the part that she brought into the relationship because of her stuff. I think that there's a part of us that we get into these for some
Yep.
kind of reason. I think you're
Yep.
touching on it with the compassion and the empath, and I want to
Yep.
help, I want to fix you.
Yep.
And then yes, bringing up like your childhood and it's what you knew. I think sometimes we are attracted to people to redo issues in our past that were unresolved, and it's like, oh, I've got another shot. Like, this isn't conscious. You don't go, I'm gonna go pick the most narcissistic person in the whole way.
No.
It's gonna be fun. That is how this
we
goes
definitely
down.
ain't thinking that.
However, there's some kind of, I think,
Yep.
energy attracts energy, and there's something where it's like, I've got this huge unresolved thing that's causing a blockage in front of me being able to get out there and find a healthy relationship, and I have to figure it out. And so then here comes this person, and internally you're like, ding, 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 I'm going to figure my stuff out. I'm going to replay this situation and see how I manage it. And that's part of the trauma bonding, maybe, is what you brought into it, what she brought into it. It fit. You guys created this dance
And
until
I didn't even know what that word was. I
yeah,
had no idea what trauma bonding. I didn't know all this stuff till I got
you know.
myself educated on this. I had no clue. But I do know one thing, guys. Up to this point, I've been very fulfilled in every relationship I've ever been in. Meaning, well, for whatever reason it ended, but nothing like this. So this to me was just a totally different apple, and I had no clue on what was going on and how to fix it. And even if I did have some unseen issues with myself, honestly, going into this, that wasn't the reason why I went into it. I don't feel like, because it'd be different if I was going into a normal relationship with a normal person and I had some unseen issues of my childhood. They could be able to help me understand it if I didn't understand it. That's different. These people, no. They don't care about nothing, no one else except me, I. That's all it is. They'll tell you in a minute they love you, they care about you. They don't care about nothing except them at the end of the day. So myself personally, I would not have. You're right. I'm not walking down the street going, I'm gonna pick out the most toxic person out here to be in a relationship with. Oh no, that was not my game plan at all. But you don't realize you're in it until you really start seeing signs, and you're just scratching your head, going, "What?
Yeah.
What? What did she just say? What did he? What? How did it? What?" That's how I was doing the whole time, going, "What?" And I think the biggest thing that I would like to try to help people understand too, it is not you. This is all them. And so the thing that I had to understand was not to take it personal. This is not my problem. This is her. This is how she is. This is not me. But it's hard not to take it personal when you're in it. When you're so deep in it, and everything they do, everything they say, every reaction that they get out of you, I was taking all that personal. And that was more and more stress on me because I'm trying to figure it out the whole time.
Which is why people stay. You start to become a shell of a person until you go, wait a second, I'm directing all my energy to try to fix that person. I got to turn it back and go collect myself. So,
You do.
and that was part of your education and
Yep.
talking to people and getting this advice and your faith.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're a pretty accomplished person.
I am.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's why I told you guys, I was just saying in general, this was blowing my mind
Yeah.
because I'm thinking to myself, how in the heck, Krista, can you be with this woman and you know how you feel about yourself? Meaning, I've never had self issues, like self doubt. I have always been very optimistic my whole life. I had accomplished so many things before I even met this woman. So I always loved and believed in me, guys. That's why this whole topsy turvy thing just took me for a loop. But the great thing about it is this: if you can stay with your true, authentic self and all of your accomplishments and everything that you had before you even got into it, and while you're in it, and still sustain it, there's your key.
Great
If you can
message.
come out of it and not lose any part of you, that's something I was so blessed to be able to come out, and still Krista was all intact. Krista's still accomplishing. Krista's still doing what Krista loves, her passion and her love. So that's one thing. And boy, did she try many times to just constantly block that with me. Every idea I would come up with, oh, that's not a good idea, you know. So so many people don't come out with their authentic identity intact, guys. They lose. And I kept saying to myself, I lost a part of me in this relationship. I did, but I kept the biggest part of me, and I thank the Lord for that because I kept Krista, real Krista. I lost some in that, but I never lost sight of who I am,
So
what
cool.
I have to give to the world, what I have to give to myself, what I have to give to the partner that's supposed to be with me. I never lost sight of that, and I thank you for that because it's who these people can get you totally in, getting in a padded room and they have you like this because that's how they'll get you. They get so up in your brain, and you're like, wow. So yes.
Are you back on the dating scene or no?
How long have you been out of this relationship, Krista?
Okay, so technically we broke up in 2021, right?
Okay.
But then we kind of got re-engaged again.
Oh, the friends with benefits, you mentioned that.
That for like 2000 or 2022. I went no contact the rest of 2021.
Uh-huh.
Got back in contact. We started doing everything that we did for 15 years all over again, but not saying we went together.
Mm-hmm.
So that went on for another 2022, 2023, and that was it. So another 2 years.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you something, guys, where I'm at right now. And this is my just takeaway, and I hope I can help somebody with this one. I have never been not in a relationship my whole life until right now.
That's huge.
It's
So
big.
you're re-getting comfortable with being by yourself and
I never
embracing
been here.
you.
I
And you're
never even been
healing.
here, guys. When I tell you, I have always been in a relationship my whole life, even up to this point. We're breaking up with her. So what I found that was happening here with my book coming out and being able to concentrate on certain things that's going on right now, I am in this isolation period, which is very unfamiliar to me because I'm used to being in a relationship. But I realize now I had to be in this isolation period with not looking for no one else to put in that spot like I normally do, because I used to go from relationship to relationship to relationship like narcs do. How they go from one new supply to the next supply. That was me my whole life until right now. Because now I feel like God and the universe and everything that's going on with me very positive right now in my life is because God wants me all to himself. He needs me undistracted and totally focused on this journey I'm on. And I cannot do that with anybody right now in my life. And that's including friends, and some friends have gone away because I'm starting to see, I'm like you were talking about earlier. I'm starting to understand something. When you get out of a narcissistic relationship, you really start seeing your friends that's been around you for a very long time. Sometimes their true face comes out and you never even realized it, and then you have to send them away too. Friendships that I've had for 2 decades, 3 decades, they're not my friends anymore.
You've
I
had to
saw a lot.
reestablish
I was,
boundaries. Yeah.
huh?
You've had to reestablish your boundaries.
I had, and I didn't even realize I had them with my friends
Yeah.
until I started getting on the level that I'm on now and leveling up.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, that little process of never being alone and always being in a relationship, this was a tough process right now. I'm still healing from it because I'm not used to this. I'm used to having my girlfriend with me, we
Yeah.
all the time doing whatever all the time. So I'm always used to that. But now it's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I need you to stand still. I need you to pay attention. I
Mm-hmm.
need you to understand something. I'm getting ready to give you back everything you lost. But for right now, I need you to pay attention to what's going on this journey that you're on that is incredibly amazing. That's all I can say. It's just an amazing journey right now. So I'm getting people in my life now that are supposed to be there. The
Mm-hmm.
ones that are not supposed to be there are out. But it's just like I gotta trust right now that this process right now that I'm in, out of coming out of being a survivor of this narcissistic relationship and now not going on the dating sites and not trying to find nobody else, then this is the process that is good, you know. So
So I'm hearing you say, pay attention to yourself, listen to your gut feeling, stand up for yourself, learn what you can, and then be alone. Sit with it. Have the courage to be alone. Learn, rewire all the habits and old tapes and figure out where you are and stand where you're standing so that you can shift things and move forward in a different
you
direction.
said it all in a nutshell. That was exactly what it is. And like you said, you have to you got to stand still. And I used to think this was the craziest things real quick, and I'm just going to kind of cap this off. But my friends that were around me throughout the whole relationship, they all said the same thing to me. They said, you need to get out of that she is not for you. It is not even your personality, Krista. You shouldn't even be in that. But the one thing that was my biggest thing that I do realize is that my friends kept telling me, Krista, you need to be alone and love yourself. And I kept saying, I used to get mad when they tell me that. I do love me. What are you talking about, love me? I do. And I've been alone my whole life. And they say, no, you've been in relationships your whole life. So you don't know that you truly know you. I kept saying, I know me. I know exactly who I am. But now that when I'm alone now and I'm isolated, I don't have any distractions, I'm not in a relationship. Wow, guys, I have learned so much about me.
Yeah.
And and like you said, everything is coming together and I'm starting to see things and I have a lot of discernment and clarity now about people, places, things, opportunities, and me.
Yeah.
And I'm so ready for my next relationship, but I'm going to be totally healed. I'm not going to meet another narcissist because that's not even close in my game plan. But I'll be ready, guys, and I'm excited for that point. But right now, I'm just going to sit still. And like you said, rewire everything back to where it was. But I'm starting to really, this is an incredible journey right now because I'm starting to learn things about me I never even knew about me in the first place. But now I do because there's nobody here in my space. It's just me, God, the universe, the energy, me leveling up. And then he's starting to send me people that are like minded that I can talk to, like you two and everybody else, So
And so through all of that, you are going to help a ton of people with your book that you're putting out. Have
yes,
you released the title of the book yet?
yes.
Do
It's
you want to
called
share?
it's called Krista's Promise.
Krista's
Oh, I love
Promise.
that.
And
And
it is
when is the release date for that?
what we're thinking about right now. So it's still over at the publishing company. So we just got the cover. I'm on my first round of editing it, or they sent it to me. So we're thinking summer to fall. It'll come out.
Great.
Awesome.
Every,
Congratulations.
everything, yes. And the Krista's promise is an actual promise I made to God. That's why the name of the book. And inside the book, you'll see that. It'll say, what is Krista's promise? Well, this is what it was. It was a promise that I made to him. Because this is a self-help spiritual memoir. And it is, I'll just say this. My book is my life story, but it really has nothing to do with me. It has to do with I'm the vessel to tell these stories to help others and to tell everyone that all of us on this earth walking around as humans, we all innately are connected to the one upstairs, period, in life. We're breathing, and it's not from another human being helping us to breathe. So that's my story. I want to be able to tell people about my life story and everything I've experienced, but how did this all come to be? How did I come out of that narcissistic relationship? How am I talking to you guys and not have lost my mind on that one? How does that work for everybody? How do you come out and come out on top? That's my story, to tell everybody there's a reason why there's no coincidences here. This is why we're here. We all got purpose. We all have purpose in life. We all do. All humans do. We just got to find what your purpose is.
I love that. And people can't hear it enough. So Krista's promise. I love it.
Krista's promise. That is it.
You'll have to keep in touch with us and let us know when it drops.
Absolutely.
On your website when it drops?
Yes. Everything's going to be, trust me, everybody's going to know. The whole world's going to know when this book drops. Because I've already been told, and I've already seen the vision 20 years ago. When this thing comes out, the whole world is getting ready to know what I've been knowing all along. It's just going to come out, and it's going to be it's going to be big, huge.
And your website is powerbykrista.com.
Correct.
Great.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We're going to link all of that below. We'll have your website, and then people can sign up to keep up with all of your news and updates and everything. Yep. Gosh, we thank you so much, Krista. This was so enlightening.
I just want to say, I don't think we really touched on, I mean, you're a badass. You're like, you've got some history going on. I mean, people need to go and look at this. You're like a power lifter and MMA and right?
Well, I'm a power lifter, but I'm a pioneer. So I was the first Black female to ever bobsled. That's the other story. So I'm a pioneer, and I've been in powerlifting for 40 years now, and I still compete. Yes.
Wow.
And I have a lot of accolades behind me. This is true. But my whole life I've been doing my passion. I love lifting. I love competing. I love helping. I love teaching and coaching. The whole bobsled thing was very unique because that's kind of where the filmmakers and the people that are looking at my story to be a movie is because I'm a pioneer. Besides, like you said, in your words, but
well,
as far
I want to point that out because toxic relationships happen to anybody. No matter, if you are in a spot where we talked about how you get into it. I just kind of wanted to point that out. Like you are a pioneer, first African American bobsledder, power lifter, and here you are in this relationship where I just want to point that out. Like no one is, everyone can be subjected to this, and
nobody is exempt from these people.
Exempt. Thank you.
Narcissism does not discriminate.
No.
You're right about that one.
Yes, this is what I'm trying to say. And I think that when you were talking about the embarrassment, the shame, the guilt, it happens. And I'm just so happy for you that you were able to break through that and be where you are now alone, looking at this and being able to share Krista's promise with everybody. I'm just so grateful that you're here.
And I just want to tell you one little snippet. In the book, it tells you, because everybody always asks, how did you get through this? I tell you what, it was me and God. Because all I was doing was praying all the time, telling God, please help me. Help me get out of this. I'm miserable. And even after I got out of it, it's still all about God and me. It's a lot of prayer. and just a lot of just soaking my cries and all my pain into God and telling him, help me. I'm a good person. I know I am, but I got to get out of this. This is crazy. So that's a lot of it too. And then too on the bottom too. So we're running a campaign right now. It's on Indiegogo, and I'll tell you all that information too. So if anybody wants to go on there about my book, actually everything's on there, and you can see all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaway, and it still is to my life. It's just, it's all been about God with me. And then I'll tell you, I'll leave y'all with some of the books that helped me. Oh my God, they helped me something terrible about this narcissistic stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. If it wasn't for
Great.
those books, I wouldn't be here. It really wouldn't.
Yeah, those are always good to have. Definitely share that with us too.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much, Krista. It was a pleasure meeting you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
And
We'll have you back when you get back in the dating scene. You can
Ooh,
tell us how you
yeah.
set up like your non-negotiables, your boundaries, all the things.
You know what?
No
Honestly,
rush
I
to
don't even.
keep us posted.
Okay, because I don't even think I'm gonna have to do that, because you know what? My vision is, and then I feel like this is what's gonna happen with me. My next partner, I'm not gonna have to look for. I'm not gonna be on no dating site or nothing like. Because I've never met any of my partners on a dating site at all. This was way before then. I met everybody in person, but I'm just gonna say this: she is gonna be where she's supposed to be when she's supposed to be there, and That's gonna be it for me. I'm not gonna have to look. We're gonna be in the same place. It might be at a book signing, might be at a speaking I'm doing in the audience, and she's just gonna be there. And I feel that way, that she's gonna be planted right there at that right time, that right place, and everything. And it's just gonna be right. And I know it. And I will know. I won't know. It's not gonna be no narcissist bringing brought to me. I'll know. So, but yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to put all of your information every way that everybody can find you, follow you,
Okay.
get updates on your book, all the things. We'll have them linked below. And just thank you so much for coming and sharing your story and being vulnerable with us.
Yeah.
Now, do I need to stay on with you so you can get all the information?
Yep, hang on just a sec.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So this has been Unguarded Minds, and we appreciate you guys being here. Make sure that you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you drop your comments, and we'll see you on our next episode.